Everybody. Thank you for joining me. Hello, Charlie. Yeah, letting the ducks come in. Bring the ducks in, baby. Bring the ducks in. We all need the ducks, don't we? Yeah. So yeah, um, we have that three-quarter square going on with the moon. If you saw the moon up this morning, it was a perfect, waning, like that half moon. So it was very beautiful this morning. If you were able to see it, because it was up. And yeah, I sang that to you. Oh. So Charlene's singing good morning, good morning, good morning. Dive dun, 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 morning, good morning to you. There you go. Good morning. Good morning, Solutions Intuitive Soul, you beautiful, beautiful, intuitive. There, I mean, I'm singing and there she is. And I mean, she is a healer that sings. That's just wonderful. She joins when I'm singing. And my husband, of course, he comes in soon as I go live. That always happens.
You want to leave close when we go in?
Yes. Like, oh, so welcome everybody. Thank you. A few things. I was watching he's a lovely man. He's a lovely man that I watch. I watch a lovely man on YouTube. That didn't sound menacing, did it? It didn't sound like, oh, I watch lovely men on. I watch lovely men on YouTube. Yes, his name is Jacob Todson, and Jacob Todson is he is a Norse paganism, and he does some beautiful live streams, and talks about the paganism, and he's done a lot of exploration and discovery when he's gone. He is American and went to um, different parts of Norway to Finland to Sweden, and traveled and just discovering different parts of the Norse paganism. I'm not going to really say it's a religion, and following the pathogens and stuff of like um, Odin and Thor and Loki, and and the crew. He also went to Scotland, and that's where, I mean, for him, as he says, he's still a Norse pagan, but he did find a love when he went to Scotland, and just a huge connection when he went there, which is very, very cool. I sort of felt this for a while, but he confirmed it on his YouTube yesterday, and he was talking about the decline in paganism, a huge, and even in Wicca, where Wicca, when you put anything up on Wicca or you were advertising stuff on Wicca, there would be like a million hits, like people would be all over it, right? And same with Norse paganism. I mean, it got its height when the Vikings came out, and that series, the Vikings, and all the Viking series came out, and it just took off. Prior to 2019 and 2020, the pagan religions were, quite, people were searching, people were looking for things. They even coined things like, what was it, like a little witch or something, or baby witch, that's the word, baby witch. Oh, you're a baby witch. Oh, you're a baby witch, for new people coming in. Yet the decline in it has been very substantial over the last couple years, and a huge incline when it comes to organized religion. And I sort of sat there and I was thinking about it, because I mean, I was raised in a very prolific and a very well-known organized religion called Catholicism, and very in depth within Catholicism, and even studying it. the whole bit, studying to go into the sisterhood, did a lot of work when it came to youth uh, work and working with a lot of youth. But, as I'm sitting there, and that's the whole thing. It's like I started to, wonder, okay, why is there such a decline? And I thought, okay, one, it's not organized. And I know that's one of the reasons why people leave organized religions, right? But when you go and you step into, say, a pagan um ritual or whatever, what you find, and this is from my experience, is that okay, yes, I'm gonna say right now, yes, there's ego wherever you go. There's ego in the organized religions. There's ego over here, but it's more blatant when you step into the pagan world and you step into the witchcraft and witchy world and the Wiccan world. And there's always a searching. Oh, we're searching, we're cleansing, especially the spirituality. Oh, the shadow work, oh, the shadow, and you can get very burnt out. And there's so many different teachers that are out there, oh, there's my way, there's this way, that way is not good, this way's better, this is how you do a spell, this is not how you do a spell, this is what you do, blah 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 blah. So you can get inundated in so much information overload. It's not like walking into a church. So you're walking into, let's say you want to become Catholic, all right? And you make an appointment. You talk to a priest, you talk to a sister, you talk to other people who are going to the church, why they are Catholic, what are they doing? Like you're able to have conversations with these people. And then they have classes that are set up that you go on a weekly basis to these classes, and then you join in after you join in right when after I think you join in around communion time, and you come into the church and you get a blessing, and then you go and sit down. So this is where I feel like, a lot when you are moving away from the Christian world, or I'm going to say just organized religion, that the structure is not there. And that's what people are looking for. They're looking for structure. And that's one of the biggest faults within our society today. When Gen X's were having children, they were raised in such a strict way, from their baby boomer parents, and their baby boomer parents were raised by Depression parents, and the Depression parents may have been raised by Victorian or Edwardian parents. So by the time you got to the Gen X's, they were like, fuck this. I'm not going to force any religion upon my children. I'm not going to force anything upon my kids. And, or even the ones that did get the organized religion, then maybe they were sort of had enough of it. Again, enough of it, enough of the organization. This is being thrown down my throat. This is, too much hypocrisy. But now we're finding that there's a search, and the search is there because, yeah, you can't just go, like, who are you going to go up to? Right. And then you go into some of these occult places, and it's kind of scary if you're not, ready for it, or you find different people online who are maybe not as open or understanding, or um because I also I know it's a double-edged sword here that I'm speaking about. But what I find is, there's no community. Like, there's no, come on after, come on afterwards, after the celebration, and let's have coffee and cookies down in the basement kind of thing. There is no actual connection and bringing that connection and wanting you to really come in, participate, be a part. What do you need? Oh, you need, okay, you need help with food, you need help with whatever. We can help you with that. Okay, what do you know, maybe in some places there is, but it's very few and far between when you look into the Wiccan and you look into a lot of the paganist groups and stuff that are out there. And that's why I feel a lot of people are searching. They go down to South America and they're going on ayahuasca journeys. And yeah, those are transformational and very intimate journeys to go on for people. But it's not like you have a support group afterwards, you know? That support group afterwards. And that is really a huge part of it. Is having some kind of support, or is having some kind of something that's there that is giving them that stability. Because even within both sides, whether it's organized religion or different groups that come under the occult spiritualist way, can also be just as controlling as, per se, the other groups, right? In a different way. So I found that very interesting. I kind of had a feeling of it, of the groups, and I already, looking at the astrology, already saw that there'd be a huge incline when it comes to religion, and a huge incline when it comes to when it with spirituality and the like. And my sort of rings off on Doreen Virtue, that, one of the things I think she saw in one of her visions was definitely an attack that would be coming upon those who are in the spiritual community, because definitely there is in I mean, on a lot of social media platforms, they are really trying to deplatform a lot of spiritualists and a lot of like tarot readers and psychics and astrologers and the like. So they're trying to really shun them or push, so that they don't reach within the algorithm, as unless they really started off with a huge following, or hit that right um rhythm, that algorithm, right? So, and it's even been putting across within, even here in Canada. Our governor general was, dismissing that about astrology and tarot and psychics, and even mentioned that they should be outlawed. And within the energy too, I mean, those are the groups that are usually attacked first. They were in World War II, they were in World War One. They kept a few out because they knew that those who spoke about astrology. Hi, Declan. I hope you got your flight rebooked. Just sending you out positive vibes. I lost my train of thought. Sorry. It wasn't your fault. It was it's when those were the first ones, except for a few that they kept out, so that because they knew that what they saw or what they said was truth, right? And they came across in truth. We know that the CIA and FBI use psychics for location and doing location work, and getting intel on inside buildings and the like. Sometimes the FBI have also used and it's not just one psychic, they use a group of psychics. So if one psychic comes out and says, "Oh, I work for the FBI," they don't, it's usually a group that works for the FBI, and they just look at the information and they gather the information from the whole group, right? And then go from there. when they're trying to either locate a body or locate information on a case. That being said, it's like, but still, then we don't want to have an association with them. So, when it comes to spirituality and it comes to this work, it is, for me, it's very personal. That's one of the reasons why I don't associate myself with any groups or anything like that. I do make it very personal, and how I practice personally, and I think that's where a lot of other are finding that their practice is becoming very private and having to be very private because of the decline. I mean, we've made such leaps and bounds of, within the pagan community and within the occult to try to educate people, but you're always going to find that there's going to be some sort of fear base that comes around it. One, because it isn't, it isn't in your face. It isn't, really organized. I mean, if there was any organization that came with it, like the Druids and such, I mean, the Romans definitely blasted them and tried to kill them all off because of their power and their connections and the things that they, you know, that they could do. And I feel like there's, for people, I mean, you're going to find that even a lot of astrologers are going towards, the church and going towards organized religions. Same with a lot of tarot readers. Like, there's been one, I can't even remember their name. I didn't follow them, but they're a huge tarot reader and they now dismiss everything to do with it. And I get it. I get it. I understand because it's not easy to walk the road alone. It's not easy when you don't have, that support group in a building that you can go to or a weekly group that you can go and do celebrations with that is organized, that does come together, right? When you don't have that, it kind of makes it, that you're the lone wolf and that sometimes, with what you are going through, to be able to just go in and um talk to a priest or talk to somebody, about whatever is going on in your life and get the guidance and help. And plus it's, I mean, much easier when you're in an organized religion where they will have connections to other organizations. Even though that they have made paganism, I believe in the United States and here in Canada, they have as a recognized religion and having to recognize it as a religion. And that's the whole thing. It's like even within the Navajo Nation, with certain things and certain celebrations that they do, ending up recognizing them as a religion so that they're able to do different ceremonies that are only allowed to be done with a trained priest of their church, right? And that's the peyote ceremonies and being able to collect the peyote because it was over ransacked. And peyote is a beautiful flower from a special cactus, and it's only grown in certain areas, and it is an endangered species, right? So the Navajo really had to step up with that so that they could really so it doesn't get ransacked and overtaken, basically. And that was a huge one. Good morning, Dana. And good morning, who's joining me on the other side. I don't see who you are on my Facebook or if you haven't come up and commented on YouTube, which is fine. You don't have to, just because I'll send you love. So a change is definitely in the air in connection and with how people are connected. And the other part too is that when you've come from an organized religion and you are stepping into something like becoming a spiritualist and becoming um, a Wiccan or a North pagan or whatever pathogen that you wish to follow, it is something of a discovery that you are on, and it's one of a discovery that is a solo path. kind of thing. It's not a, even when I was looking into witchcraft, and cuz I was just drawn to it. I was just interested in it. I mean, it's not only that I could see dead people walk around and different spirits, and I would see different entities coming in and out, and I would witness so many things that when I did go to the church and I did discuss it with Sister Gertrude, it was like, something that, well, you're not really supposed to discuss that. Even with my family, where we are all very psychic, my father, my mother, my grandmother, um, you didn't discuss it outside the house, right? People knew what you did, but you didn't discuss it outside the house. So to be able to step out and start discussing it, and even when I met uh Takiata, the woman with Reiki who brought Reiki to America, and I met her in Penticton when I was like 16 or so. It was very where my dad didn't even know what he was dropping my mom off for, kind of thing. It was like, oh, mom's just going to go visit somebody, and it was a friend of hers who was becoming a master in Reiki. And back then, you had to pay $10,000 to become a master. She was the only one who was doing it at the time, and she was also she would stay with you, as you're being taught to do this practice of Reiki and really embrace the practice of Reiki. And it's not like it is done now. It's done in a weekend and setting. I don't come and live with you. So to meet her, because my mom was going in there and was asked if she could come and be her friend's to do a practice healing on. And my mom definitely, because my mom was very interested. I mean, one of their best friends was, oh my God, she owned a candy shop in Hoots. Hoots, it was called Hoots Sweets, and it was a candy shop in Penticton, and the candy shop was my mom and dad's very good friend, Dorothy. I think her name was Dorothy, who lived in Lethbridge, and they knew her back then in Lethbridge. And uh, with her first husband, she had several husbands, and uh, reconnected with her when she was back in Penticton. And she made her claim by going to bus stops or truck stops and doing readings at truck stops. And that's how she would make her money, doing readings. And people would know that she was there, and they'd go and they'd sit in her booth, and she would do a couple readings, make some money, and go on to the next truck stop, kind of thing. So that's how she sort of made her money. And then for her to continue it on, she bought a store in Penticton, but she couldn't be a psychic in the 70s or, late 60s coming out, without, especially in a small town, you would get ostracized, and things would, you would definitely get your storefront destroyed. And she did readings, and she sold basically rock candy. I don't know if you guys know what rock candy is. It's like candy that looks like rock, but it's basically sugar. And my mom would go see her, and I would go with my mom. So my mom would drag me to these places. When she wouldn't drag, well, sometimes it'd feel like she dragged me because I didn't want to go when my mom got the healing, and that's when I met Mrs. Takiata, and she just was telling my mom things about me. And it was like really weird, because it's kind of like you know that you have a gift, but you don't talk about the gift, but you don't really understand the gift, because my grandmother, uh after we moved from Edmonton, I didn't have much teachings with my grandmother anymore, because she ended up in an old folks home. And so it was just kind of weird. And her saying that, and then that's the same way with Dolly Hoot. That was her name, not Dorothy. Dolly Hoot. Thank you, Dolly. Would say things, and I would go for a reading with my mom, because my mom needed to know things. And then her and Dolly would talk for, mom would go in for a reading, and then of course, since they're old friends, they'd sit there and chat away. And my mom, at that time, she goes, "Do you want me to start training your daughter?" My mom's like, "Oh, no, 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 no. Harold wouldn't like that." And she goes, "Oh, yeah, Harold wouldn't like that," which is my father. Um, And that's the thing is, and I feel, went from Dorothy and went by Dolly. Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. And the thing is that that's what we're finding. That's one of the reasons why a lot of young people went out searching for different forms of paganism, different things, within the paganism group. But Dolly went to church every Sunday. She was in mass every Sunday. Like, she was still a practicing Catholic, right? She may not have believed everything that it said, but she was still a practicing Catholic, and have that connection in that community. People knew what she did. And that's what a lot of psychics did. They ended up going into the church and people knew what they did, right? But you just didn't discuss it. And I feel that's part of the energy that's going to be coming forth, where you know what they do, but you don't discuss it. Maybe that's what I need to do. I need to open a candy shop. And I do readings in the back. She did tarot and tea leaf readings in the back. I don't know if she did anything else. But kids after school we would go see her. It was hilarious. And sit there, and she had these little chairs that were kind of uncomfortable, and everybody would be sitting there. And I remember one time when I was after my mom had her reading and stuff and visit and stuff, and we were leaving, and I looked over and there was another lady sitting there. And Dolly says, well, I have to go now because I have another client. Like, she was always busy, like people were coming in all the time to get the readings. And the weird here's a weird kind of connection. Her granddaughter, must have been her granddaughter, took the Journey Club with me. And we connected for a short while, and it was weird because I mentioned Dolly, and she goes, "That's my grandma." Oh my god, it was hilarious. And she didn't know a lot about her grandmother. She just knew that her grandmother owned, and it's her uncle or somebody who owns that now, and I think he does tattoos out of there. It's a tattoo shop now. But, trying to find that connection, trying to find or search for that, um, because you're feeling either alienated, or there was, um, something horrible happened with you within the Christian community, and, where it was either pushed down upon you, or you were ostracized in some way because of it. For me, it was basically I was searching for something more. And it really pissed me off that it was only men on the altar. That always bugged me ever since I was little. Why are there only men on the altar? Why couldn't women be on the altar? Why is only a man doing that, ceremony? Don't women? My mother hated me because I'd ask all these questions. Why is he wearing those robes? He looks like an alien. Doesn't he look like an alien? Have you ever seen the robes that the priests wear? Especially a green one, and it comes all the way up here, and the big long robes and stuff that they wear on the altar. It looks kind of alien. It reminded me of the aliens from cartoons. So I'd be asking all of these questions, and of course, you get, shh, don't ask those questions, and just accept. And I was too much of a curious one, and that's even when I went into the sisterhood. I was too curious, and that's one of the reasons why the sister said, you have a lot more in life to explore, and than to be here. And uh being in, I can see very much, back in the day, entering a nunnery would be a very safe place for some of these women, right? Very safe place, because they had such a knowingness, right? My impression was that the nuns always treated the priests like demigods. Yeah, a lot of them did, because they were the ones who, especially in the nunnery, the priests are the ones who would have a say in how the nunnery is run, right? And plus the whole bunch of shit that actually went down in some of those nunneries too. I mean, yeah, there's sexual exploitation in everything, in every organized religion, and even within the pagan world too. And some of the things that go on within the pagan world, and people take it to the other extreme and to the disgusting parts of it as well. So I don't think any, any part of that is to be deemed it's just them. It's just them. You can go into some of the pagan rituals, right? Um, where having to do with sexuality and having sex, having orgies, because of that connection to God. Because once you have an orgasm, I mean, you're not thinking about anything else. That's why a lot of people shout out, "Oh my God!" Oh, it's that exhilaration, that ecstasy that comes in with that within that energy. And so that is sort of coming in with that God essence too. So you can, with different religions, bring in sexuality as a very um, part of it when it comes to different sects, especially out of organized religions, right? So that's a whole nother exploration to really look into. And that's also, again, that's where I'm heading, not to an orgy or a man online, but heading to that place of the wound, heading to that place of that needs healing. And that womb is also the healing of the earth, the connections that we have of the earth. And again, here I go, with that of the ancients and the old, and of the wise women. And when you get into the studying of the Virgin Mary, Mary Magdalene, and their connection. I mean, the Virgin Mary, Mother Mary, was definitely only 13 when she got married. She was a virgin, especially at that time. You would usually marry your girl off right after her period, because they were very much, you know, they're ready to be bred. They're ready to have babies. And life expectancy wasn't very long. If you lived past 25, you're very lucky, right? So have your babies young. So that was just common practice, right? And Joseph was a man who, definitely, his first wife died. Probably died in childbirth. It's not really written. You got to really seek for a lot of that information. And and married. But there was something there. She did, however you want. Did she get immaculately impregnated? Well, there we can go into to altered dimensions, right? There are altered dimensions. I mean, you can go into the study of South Africa, where there's areas in South Africa where girls get I guess we'll call them the grays. There's caves, there's forests and stuff that you just don't enter, where girls would be pregnant, and then if the pregnancy was allowed, those babies weren't human that were born, and the shaman would have to come in, and the babies would be taken away. But they weren't human babies that these young girls would be birthing. That's in South America or South Africa, and there's also in South America too, but in South Africa, there is that, that's there as well. And so who's to say that this is here, I'm just throwing this out, because people say, "Oh, she couldn't have been a virgin," but maybe she was. Maybe she was impregnated with the Palladians or with some other spiritual force or altered dimensional being that came forth, because she had to bring forth this new energy to the earth. So new energy had to come to the earth, right? And yeah, she was very young when Jesus died. I mean, he didn't come out. Oh. Things I know in my head. Mary was okay. We're going to go back to Mary. Mary, when she had her child, was only about maybe 13, 14. And her connection, her lineage, like they don't usually talk about the female lineage, right? The female lineage, um, is very strong, because you can go back to her aunt Anne, who had John the Baptist, and their lineage. Their lineage goes all the way back to Anana, which is going back to Babylon, and going back to women who actually knew how to read and write. It's going way past the Syrian. energy. So very powerful women. They were. Mary, for her age, knew how to read, knew how to write. She knew the Torah very well. She's read from the Torah, which was not a thing women knew. And these are things that aren't taught within the religion. They're not, allowed to speak about the power that's there and the power of this energy that's there. Because I mean, you can go back to Abraham. Abraham was not a Jew. He was the starting of the Judaism. But he was not at that time when he was not a Jew. He was he was a wanderer, right? And he believed in many different gods. And he followed the stars and he followed, the moon phases. That's what he did. So there's a huge exploration that needs to be done there with education when it comes there. And then Mary Magdalene, her lineage goes back too. She was a very well-educated woman, whether she was a prostitute or not. I mean, she's written as a prostitute so that she is not given that power. The first 7 pages of the Gnostic Bible that she wrote, like, basically are gone. They ripped them out. So there was something there, some information that was there that we'll never know about with her. And when it comes to Mary Magdalene and the power she had and the knowledge she knew how to use herbs. She knew how to cast different spells, I guess you would say, and work with different concoctions. And right down to that, one of the ones is that she was able to make someone sleep for 3 days and be dead. And bring that energy. So it's amazing when you really start to look into a lot. I mean, taking him off the cross and the whole bit. So won't get into the crucifixion. But this is where I feel like, when it comes to religion, because it's very patriarchal, that it's this way, you have to do it this way. We have a lot within the paganism, it's this way, you got to do things this way, that way, or else, you do it wrong or whatever it is, right? I find that when you get into really understanding and learning the energies of the earth, understanding the planets and the rotation of the planets and the connections we have with that and how those connections have with that on earth, and how so much is coming out to either dismiss it, to erase it so that it's not there anymore. That's why it's so important to get original copy books or to get written books and not Kindle. I canceled my Kindle one and I'm going to start really purchasing more books instead of on Kindle. I know Kindle's easy, but to actually have, because those books are going to be gone. Those books are going to be very difficult to get. And they're going to get harder and harder and harder to get. One would be because of printing and the things that are going to be going down with China. Most books are printed in China. Most, these are made in Italy. This was printed in China, I think. Can't see. Anyways, I'm pretty sure that's from China. Let's just grab a book and see where, because it may not say where it's printed, but a lot of copies go to, because it's cheap, right? It's cheaper to print your books in China than it is to so this is from the UK, blah, 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 blah. Printed and bound in China. Printed and bound in China. So, I mean, you'll grab practically any book and you're going to see it's printed and bound in China. Most tarot cards are printed in China and boxed up in China. And you're going to find more and more are not going to be, because of either lack of paper and it's not environmentally friendly, to the war that's coming with China. So, I mean, you're not going to get a lot of stuff from China anymore. So it's going to be more and more difficult. So that's why it's so important to make sure that you have your library and have your information. The written word has power. As power. So, because a lot of the women that, that I just spoke about, well, the two women, they knew about, teaching. They knew that it had power. They understood because it was part of their lineage that was passed down, and the power that's there within it. And I feel, and having that foundation of educated women that would gather, that come together. Women's circles are very important. The connection with women is very important. And I feel that is kind of what's going to be coming back. But I feel like it's also where I got a hidden element to it, or some kind of hidden element to it, because things are going to get really crazy in the next in the next week or so. I mean, things are really, February is really an accelerator of energy this month that's coming forth. And I mean, we're going to start feeling it, especially with this moon square to the sun in Aquarius and the moon in Scorpio. We're going to start feeling, some craziness that's going to be taken off. We got, things like the Grammy Awards that are coming up on Sunday, and the following week is the crazy Super Bowl, which is in Vegas. And did you know you can't park at that? Um, Park at the event. You have to park at one of the hotels, at one of the, and then either get an Uber or walk over. That's just, and it's very narrow, and it's built like the Colosseum. So it's up high. So people are stacked up high. So it's just weird. I'm just saying, it's just weird. It just doesn't feel right. And the whole thing, and making, what's her face, the whole thing is just not, um, it's just off. And same with the Grammy Awards, they're just off. So there's some weirdness that's going on there. But that's why I feel like, outside of organized, religion, that's why I think, a lot of people, not because what I just said, but what I was saying earlier, that people are returning to organized religion, returning to that. You go to India. India is a fine example of organized religion, and that's very powerful and strong. And and it's funny because in each sort of area that you go throughout India, there is a deity, a different deity that they have a temple to. They have some of the a huge statue to Shiva. It's just crazy big how it is. Um, and I think they have a huge concert every year, or a huge gathering every year to Shiva. It's a whole weekend long, and it's kind of like a festival, and people coming together. And I think it's going to be coming up quite soon, within the next couple months, anyways. But the connection, if you go to India, their connection to God, their connection to um to their religion is very powerful, and it's still there. They really have it within their family. Most Indian people that I know have, either Sikh or even Hindu, have a shrine within their house. They have a picture or something. They're very strong within within their faith, and believing within their faith. And you go there, and you can, there is such a vibrance of that energy that is there. And I think that's why a lot of people have gone there for searching. Now we're finding that there's such a vibrance and a connection to those shamans in South America. People are going down, wanting to connect, wanting to really understand, and to become a shaman especially a Peruvian shaman, or even a Colombian shaman, or any of the shamans within the South America. There is quite a process of what you have to go through to become one, and then to become a Mason carrying shaman. I know a couple of them that are in BC. One, she lives in Kamloops, is a Mason carrying Peruvian shaman. Beautiful woman. But it is a study, and then it's a practice, and then finding that practice. But she even, I remember talking to her, she goes, one thing that she found very difficult being back here in Canada is the connection. Having a connection of peers, having a connection of others who are practicing. She goes, I don't find that connection until I go back. And she goes, that's once a year. She goes back to and does a pilgrimage, and finding that connection. And that's the other piece, is that people are looking for connection. People are looking for, having that binding energy with others that have a similar belief system, or have an understanding of what it is that they are going through. And we're going to see that unfold over the next several months, I'm going to say, where more and more, because when it comes to even the new legislations that are coming down, and the control on social medias, even the new thing that they just passed in the Senate, which kind of scares me, as I said yesterday. I think it's like these old pedos that are feeling like, oh, I don't want to pitch, I'll pass this so nobody's looking at me, kind of thing. It's all them. It's all the social media. It's their fault. And it's just like, well, for fuck's sake, you guys you're able to delete somebody. You're able to delete somebody from this earth and all their information, yet you can't delete all this bullshit. Like, you could go in and you could delete someone's account just like that, and take away their SIM card and everything else, but you can't delete all this stuff off the internet. Like, fuck me. Yeah, whatever. I find that so interesting. So interesting, right? So, oops. I'm gonna say hi just to get things. There we go. Because the chat was sort of frozen on Instagram. So she did have a long life. Definitely. Well, I know. Yes, Mary did have a long life. I mean, the thing is that you got to look at afterwards. I mean, Jesus died. That's where the ascension is, right? So, um, what is it? 13 days after Christmas is the Ukrainian Christmas, which is the ascension of, you know, of Mary, and bringing in the ascension of, rising up. So there's a lot that I think people are struggling with, and that are going through. Generally don't care about either of those events. So generally, okay, I lost myself. Oh, you mean the Grammys and the Super Bowl? Yeah, I don't either. But the thing is that there's something there that's I mean, I won't watch them. I'll see whatever is on there afterwards. Same with the football game. I won't watch it, because there's just a lot of cynical underhandedness that is going to be displayed there, that is really going to try and pull people in, right? And that's the whole thing, when it comes to uh, what's being unfolded right now. The baddies are trying to get as much control as they can. As that's why many times, they would bring people back to the cities to be counted, right? The census, to be to do the census, so that they knew how many people were in their their regent and how much money they could tax them and everything else, right? So census they say it's just for, to find out, all the needs of the people and blah blah blah. Well, it's basically to find out, okay, can we get more money out of this area or not? Or is this area dying? What do we need to do to get more people there so that we can get more money out of them? And I think that's all the other reason why having the open borders and having people just crash through is that the governments are looking for, okay, who are we going to tax? We need to tax more people because, birth rates are down in Canada. And I know they're not talking about the exact reasons why, but there's a lot of reasons why birth rates are down. One, millennials chose, that they don't want to have children. They saw either their parents struggle, they saw they saw things within the world, also to do with the elixir is a part of it as well. A lot of them have chose different lifestyles, where children aren't a part of. And I mean, there's so many reasons. I mean, young girls have gone on the pill sooner than ever before. You have 13, 14, and 15-year-old girls go on the pill, and then they're on the pill for the next 20 years, which really fucks up your whole system and how your cycle works, instead of allowing Mother Nature to work with your cycle and finding out the moon phases and how you can work with the moon phases to help you with your menstrual cycle. um things like that, uh to how boys are, the masculine energy of young boys is being taken away. So it's the way the world is going, we're going through and I said, if anybody watched my predictions, they know that for the next 20 years is not it's going to be a different world. I mean, the first part of Aquarius, or the first part of any energy, when Pluto goes in, or any planet goes into a sign, there's disruption and there's chaos and there's craziness that happens within the first, especially the first 5 degrees of that sign. By the time you get from 10 degrees on, the second decade, you're kind of getting getting in into the groove of it, let's say. And then it gets disruptive again when you get into the last decade. That's when things really start to get crazy. We saw that with Pluto coming to the end of Capricorn, right? And the disruptions. I mean, he has one more passing into Capricorn, and then he's gone forever. Not forever, for another 248 years. But that's the change, that's the disruption that's coming forth. And Aquarius is energy that is about discovery and looking out and seeking new communities, new ways of living, new ideas in the world around us, understanding our humanity and what it is to be human. I mean, that's going to be a huge one. What is it to be human? What is it like to be human? What is a human? So discoveries like that coming in, where a lot of people, because and as I said, those with Pluto and Sag, that those are the ones who are going off to war. Those are the ones, and they need something to get people on board with the war, something to get people there. I mean, they did it with 9/11 to get people all riled up, right? So there's something that has to come in to get people, really invested in it in some way. And what that investment is, what is that investment to encourage people to go and fight for their country, kind of thing. And that's your Pluto and Sag, those who are born in 96, 95, 95, 95, and all the way up to 2008, 2007, I would say. That generation is the ones that are going to be off. And then you have the new ones will be coming in later, the ones from 2008 to 2014 are the next ones that will be brought in as well. So that's why you're going to find that there's going to be less and less and less babies being born, because there won't be anybody here to birth the new until we get on to later, and Pluto goes into Pisces, and that's 20 years from now. So the changes that are coming in, religious wise, community wise, connection wise, our own spirituality, our own connection within ourselves, within the womb, and having and trusting and coming forth is an important path for us to begin to explore and to begin to partake in. And I feel like this is, that's part of my disruption that I'm having within my own self, is looking at what is that first connection? The first connection is not only the root, but it is the womb. The womb part, or the vagina, is very much part of the root. And that root connection is a part of the new life, the new energy that needs to be birthed and needs to be brought forth for us all to connect, to heal, and go forth in. So there you go. So tomorrow I am celebrating the Embolic. The Embolic, actually, because it's in between the summer solstice or the winter solstice and the spring equinox. The Embolic can be any time between the 1st and usually the 5th of the month. The energies of the Embolic is actually February 4th. I wrote it in my blog today, but I know so many go, it's the 1st. Well, yeah, okay, well, it's fine. Celebrate it. It's beautiful that you celebrate it. And same with Groundhog Day. I think it's funny that people don't understand that's an old Pennsylvania Dutch, the Dutch that came over, that were being persecuted in Germany, came over to here. And the Pennsylvania Dutch are they do beautiful quilts and things, but their quilts all have different information in there. They do the wedding quilt, they do the baby quilt, the birthing quilt, if you want to have babies and stuff like that, and the women, and only certain, like each, don't want to go anyway, each area has a whole, part of it that that they kept things alive, right? Different spells and concoctions, and that you'd have these women would keep this alive, these women keep this, these women, and so you'd have ones that would do that. The Groundhog Day is very much a old witchy practice that comes from the Pennsylvania Dutch. So find that interesting as well. So let's pull some cards. And my sale is on. When you buy one, you get one free. So you buy a reading and then you get another reading for free. And you can use it for yourself or somebody else. Each reading is approximately an hour. And it's $180 for the two. And you can go, you can either e-transfer to book, or I can send you a link so that you can pay through with Visa and stuff. So let's bring it in. Whew, the 3 of Summer. So the 3 of Water. So that's about celebrating. So it's about celebrating. I mean, I know this weekend's going to be weird and off, but look at the things that you can celebrate with. Look at the things that you can connect with. I mean, here's some girls. They're just having a great time dancing in the water. Connecting. How can you connect? How can you connect with the women around you? And how can you connect with those around you? And in comes the Empress. So when you connect, there is bounty, there is this creativity that comes in, there's ideas, that spontaneity that comes forth with it, and the Empress brings in the bounty, and it is a life of luxury, and she wants to show you that. But you got to connect, you got to get out there, you got to participate and begin to celebrate with it in the ways that you need. And in that, oh my goodness, we have another one, is trusting the intuition with it all. The High Priestess comes forth. And I love that she comes forth, because it's trusting that intuition and allowing for you to say, okay, this and this go together. Let's do some reflection and bring that all together, and through the insights that you receive. So it's not, it's how you're going to take this weekend and the energies. I know it's intense. I know there's a lot that's going to be revealed throughout this weekend, and as we are going to be building up towards a new moon in Aquarius coming up next week. But it's about us. I think that connection is really important, and having a connection. So if you're wanting to book, definitely get a hold of me. That'd be totally awesome. I have some times this weekend if you want to get in right away. Yeah, and I do have the Embolic celebration tomorrow evening, which is going to be a lot of fun. That's another beautiful connection with people. It's $25. So definitely let's get together and let's begin our connection. So definitely the readings. I'm trying to push the readings because, man, I got to keep the roof over my head. That's what keeps me going. I don't make money off YouTube. I don't make money off Instagram. I don't make money off Facebook, but I make money by doing readings. And that is my big seller. So definitely, if you are wanting to connect or wanting to purchase, that's totally awesome. And let's get together. Let's get together. Yeah, yeah. All right. Have a blessed one, everybody, and we will talk to you tomorrow. Bye bye. Talk to you guys all later. Have a good one. Let's go feed the duck.